Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of making the decorative box inside of Maya. We're going to go ahead and start getting these reference images kind of set up to where we can start working with them. First thing we got to do is add them onto a layer so that we can start working our modeling without accidentally selecting them. So to do that, we're going to use a layer, which will be over here inside of our channel layer box. So you'll notice down here at the bottom there's 3 tabs. One says display, render, and animation. We're mainly just going to be creating display layers. So if you want to click this one here, looks like a little piece of paper with a little light on top of it. If you click on that, it'll create yourself a new layer. Just double click the layer and it'll ask you to name it. So we'll just call this one reference. You can choose a color, but we're not going to because we don't want the color to affect our reference images. If you're creating some kind of controls for a rig, you'd usually use a color here to kind of color code your controls, but we're not going to be dealing with that, so just leave it with no colors attached to it. Save that. Now we're going to select the little marquee box and select all of our reference planes here. I think I might have not got that one. There we go. Now I have all 3 of them. And I'm going to right mouse button, hold on top of my reference layer here, and one option, second from the top, says add selected objects. Go ahead and let go on that. And if you look at your inputs, it says that for this object, it says that reference was inputted in here, so you know that that actually went through. You could also test this just to make sure that's working by if you click this little V here. V stands for visibility. If you click the V, it'll make your reference images disappear. If you click it again, it comes back. There's another little empty ghost box here. If you click on that one, first one's T, that's for template. It makes your reference images go away. It makes sure you can't select here. Not very useful for us for right now, but the next one, R, that one stands for reference. So same kind of deal. They're here, but the graphics are still attached to it. The textures are attached to our image planes. So again, you still can't select it, but you can see what you're working with. So that's actually one we're going to keep on. I'm going to turn it off just for a minute, just because I want these reference images. I mean, it seems like it might be kind of handy to model with them all stacked in like this, so you can kind of look at it from perspective view and say, okay, I can see that it looks like it's lining up in all these different angles. But it's not very useful actually. It actually gets in the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to select each view respectively. This one's the side view. So from our 4-panel view, I'm going to activate that one. So this little icon over here, it's got 4 different little boxes. That's your 4-panel view. If you select that, that's what opens up this window over here. I believe even if you press spacebar too, it'll also open your 4-panel view. That's just a shortcut for your 4-panel. So looking at it from the side here, all of our image planes have no textures on because each preview window is specific on what it's going to render. So if you go and click this little ball with checkers on it, it says texture down here in the bottom. That will activate the textures for each one of these preview windows. So we're looking at our side view here, and this one here is my side view. So I'm going to translate it back to where it is off on the end of the grid over here, which makes it to where it's not in the way of my 3D modeling area at all. But if I look at it from my side view, nothing's changed over here. So I'm going to do the same thing for my front view. I'm going to push my front view back. And the top view, I'll push that one down. So if you look at each one of these views, nothing has really changed in these orthographic windows. But inside the 3D view, it's opened up a whole bunch of space here, so we can work inside the origin, the world access here, comparing it to all these different views without having any of these image planes in the way. Okay, so now we're ready to start modeling. Let's go ahead and jump into this view for just a minute. The first thing we're going to do to start modeling is we need an object to model. So we're going to create ourselves a polygon primitive. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to this create drop down here. It says polygon primitives. And this one here says cube. That's the one we want. Now make sure interactive creation is turned off, otherwise Maya's going to want you to draw this cube out on the grid. And in some cases you may want to do that, but if you want to keep your object at the origin when you create it, you don't want this activated. Otherwise, wherever you happen to create it, if it's not exactly at the origin, it'll just be a local origin, not a world origin, or local axis, not world axis. Same thing. Anyways, let's jump in and create ourselves our cube. So mine's interactive creation is turned off. Click the cube, and it just drops it right on in there. And that's kind of what we're after. Now I'm going to size up my cube based off of my image planes here. So I'll jump back into my 4-panel view. I can click this icon here, or I can just press spacebar, and that will get me to my 4-panel. And I'll start from my side view here. Now I'm going to turn on ghost mode for my preview window here so that I can see through my box and see this image plane behind it. Otherwise, when I start scaling this up, my cube's going to block out the reference image, and it's going to make it hard for me to kind of visualize what I'm looking at here. So this little icon right here will ghost out everything. It's X-ray is what it's called. So I use my hotkey, so I don't know if you guys caught that, but scale is right here on your little icons. But WER is the hotkeys we use for our manipulators. W is for translate, E is for rotate, R is for scale. I almost never come over here and click these at all anymore. I mainly just use my hotkeys. So hitting W will get me to translate, R to scale. That's pretty much what I've used. So I'm going to kind of use scale to kind of rough in the shape of this guy here. Now I'm not going to bring the bottom past the bottom part of this box here. The feet are going to be separate, so I'm going to stop there with the scale on that side. Obviously it looks like it needs to go up a little bit because the top is a little higher, so I'll just translate it up, hit W, back to scale, hit an R, back to translate. Okay. Now, to get the final adjustments here, if I want to do a little finer refinement, I'm going to go to my component mode. I'm going to hold down right mouse button on my object, and I'll open up my different component types. So I have vertex, edge, face are the main component types that I use. There's also UVs, but UVs are for texturing and doesn't affect the actual 3D model itself, so we're not going to be messing with UVs for right now. We're going to be using with vertex, so we'll activate vertex mode. And what that does is it makes it to where these little corner pieces here, the purple ones, those are your vertexes. So if you do a marquee box around these vertexes, now this is best practices done when you're in an orthographic view, because if you're in any kind of perspective view, if you're at an angle and you select one of these, you probably just got this one here and not the one behind it. So you want to make sure that you do a marquee box and you know you got both sides and you're going to be working symmetrically here. Okay, so this bottom piece here, I want that one translate over a little bit. Same thing at the top, just a little bit. Okay, now this does not have to be perfect. Don't get all precision on just this basic cube yet. We're working with very little bit of geometry. We're just kind of getting the basic shape in. And we're only looking at it from the side. We haven't done the front or the top yet. So let's go ahead and pop over to the top and the side and get that going. So spacebar activates my orthographic views. I'm going to jump over to my front view. Turn on my X-ray again for this view. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, and to zoom in, I'm just wheeling in on the mouse wheel. When still in my component mode, I'm going to select the vertexes here on the side. I'm just going to push them over. Same thing on this side, just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to press spacebar. Again, I'm going to pop out of this view. I'm going to check my top view now. And top view actually looks pretty decent. I think I'm going to leave the top view alone. That actually is pretty much exactly how I want it. It is a box though, so I mean, I'm not overly surprised. So, alright. So now we need to actually do some modeling on this guy. We got the box created. We got to start adding in some actual geometry to get this going in the direction of the shape of this box. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is create this little curvature here at the top. So there's a couple different ways we can do it, and we're going to go with adding a bevel on the top edges here. So I know I went a little fast there, so I'm just going to back it up for just 1 second. Hold down right mouse button on your object, go to edge mode, select your top edges here like I already had selected, and you can activate your bevel mode in 2 different ways. If you go to your mesh tools, there's one that says bevel tool. Inside your modeling toolkit, there's also a bevel tool. I'm not as big of a fan of the bevel and extrude tools through the modeling toolkit. They're there. If you like them, you can go ahead and use them. I'm just not as big of a fan of how the manipulators are inside the bevel and extrude tools. So most of the time when it comes to these 2 tools, I will jump back over and use the bevel tool out of the drop downs. They sound like they should be the exact same tool, but they were added afterwards and they're just a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the submenu for the bevel tool. That shouldn't have just jumped into it. That was a little unexpected. Let's undo that last command. See if I do it again. So normally when you click on this little ghost box here, it's supposed to open up a submenu for you to specify segments and divisions. So let's try it one more time. No, it wants to jump right into the modeling toolkit. Okay, well, we'll work with it. My 2015 is trying to integrate this modeling toolkit a little bit more efficiently, but I guess it's kind of forcing you into it now. Anyways, carrying on. So after you activate your bevel, you have this little arrow that goes side to side here, so you can activate how much of a round off you want to have. So the best way for us to figure out exactly how much of a bevel offset we want, we're going to jump back into our 4-panel and kind of compare it against what we have here of our box. So I'm scrolling up left, kind of bringing that edge up to where it matches up with my side and front view where the curvature of my box starts. Okay, so that looks about right. Now I'm going to adjust the amount of segments that goes inside my bevel here, because right now this little hard lined bevel doesn't capture the curvature of my box. So I'm going to add some segments here. Let's just go ahead and drop in 5 segments and see if that does it for us. And that looks like it does it pretty well. Satisfied with that. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Okay. So let's see how much time we got. We're at 13 minutes. Okay, we'll just keep on going forward a little further. I'm going to jump out of this tool. So I'll press this arrow key here, or you can press Q. That'll exit your tool. Otherwise, it'll keep you inside bevel mode. Okay. So now that we have some geometry, let's drop in one. Yeah, let's just drop in one edge loop right where this crease of the lid is supposed to be at. That way we can scale in the bottom and kind of create the way that the box is supposed to kind of be angled in. So maybe we'll use 2 edge loops. That'll give us a little bit more geometry to play with. So we'll go to the mesh toolkit, and inside the mesh toolkit there's one that says insert edge loop tool, and that's the one we're after. So go ahead and open up the submenu on that one, There we go. It actually opened the submenu for me. You want to have it on either relative or equal distance. Either one will be fine. Just make sure that you don't have multiple edge loops activated and you don't have insert with edge flow activated. Insert with edge flow is a great addition to insert edge loops, but it only works well with organic edge loops because it's going to want to keep with the curvature of whatever is around it. So if we were to drop in insert with edge loop, it'll probably want to bump out the sides here to kind of match with the curvature of this bevel. It works great for if you're trying to add in geometry to like an arm or a face or something to where it keeps with the edge flow of your face. But it doesn't work well with what we're doing. So I'm going to go with relative distance right now. And the way that the insert edge loop tool works is that you have to select on edge, and it's going to want to connect around the piece of geometry and come back to where it started on. So if I was to select this edge down here, it would make the edge loop go up vertically around the box. Since I'm going to select on the side here, I'll make it go horizontally around the box. And that's more or less what I'm after. So I'm going to click near where the lid is, and you can see this little green dotted lines, and as I drag my mouse up and down, it kind of follows with my mouse. It won't complete till I let go with my mouse. So I'll let go now, and it completed. Not a whole lot's changed with the look of the box, except for that there's that edge there now. And I'm going to drop one more edge near the bottom here. Okay. So now I have some good geometry to work with. I can actually now grab some vertexes around the bottom here and start kind of getting this a little bit more of a rounded look like the box has. So I'm going to exit my insert edge loop tool by pressing Q. You could also press this little arrow here and that'll do the same exact thing, but Q is the hotkey for it. I'm going to jump into my front view, and I'm going to go to vertex mode. So holding down right mouse button on my object, going to vertex mode. And now I'm going to select this vertex here, and I want to translate it over to kind of match with this edge of this box here. So I'll press W to activate my translate tool, and I'll move it over to where it kind of matches up with the box. Same thing with this one. Now, yes, I know there is this wedge shape in here, and I'm going to deal with that later. I'm not going to deal with that right now. Dealing with this whole inset edge that's going to go around the box is going to be its own little project, but I'm not going to jump into it until after I get the overall shape of the box done. So this is the back side of the box, so it has a little bit of curvature, but not as much as the front side. So this stays here. This vertex gets popped out just a little bit. Same thing with this one. That one goes out just a little bit. And that's okay. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have been looking down at these feet and being like, okay, well, how are we going to deal with these feet? These feet are going to be a completely different project itself. It's part of the box, yes, but I'm not going to be attacking it until a little bit later. I want to make sure that I have the curvature of this box taken care of, the upper part of the box taken care of before I jump into the feet. Okay. So now let's jump into our 4-panel view again. We're going to deal with the side or the front view now. Just going to bring in the sides a little. Good. Good. Now some of you may be thinking like, oh, that wasn't quite perfect what you just did there. It doesn't matter. This isn't supposed to be an identical representation of the box. I'm more or less as an exercise on modeling and not precision. I'm doing my best to capture the general cage of the box, but I'm not overly concerned with making this box photorealistic to what the box actually looks like. Okay, so that overall kind of blocks this guy in. I think that's pretty good. And we're at 20 minutes right now, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this lesson now that we got the basic shape of this box. Next lesson we will pick up with adding the inset and then making the feet in the bottom of the box. And then we'll address texturing the box too, possibly in the next lesson. We may have to add one additional lesson to do texturing. But thanks for listening. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. Bye.